So I hope I'm live. Well, again, I'm new to this stuff. Let me know if there are any problems. I was struggling a little bit with the audio because I'm not that used to OBS. But hopefully there is some music in the background and we actually have a little bit more relaxed. Last video, I think it was just me talking, not so nice. Anyway, if you could drop me a message in the chat to let me know if everything is working fine with the audio and with the video, that would be amazing. Otherwise, I will just continue with what we have planned for today. So the idea is that, well, I would like to develop an app together with you because recording everything alone is a little bit boring for me, and it's just funnier to do things together. So the goal is we're going to start small, but we're going to focus at having our app always ready to be published, always ready to be out there, always ready to be in production. And this requires a few principles. This requires that we follow a few practices. And first one is that, well, we need to have a system. So, okay, thank you, Sandra. Nice. So we need to have a system to ship our code from our machine until production. That's what we're going to set up today. But apart from that, we also need to have the checks, right? We need to have the tests, we need to have the CI checks, and we need to make sure that whatever code we are committing, whatever code we are pushing is quality code and it's not going to cause our system to break. So it's a process and we'll start today. But we'll see as the next streamings come, then we are going to improve on the setup, and we will actually slowly and, let's say, organically or iteratively bring our production or our app to a more production grade setup and hopefully have something working, which is amazing. My motivation is that I just wanted to make this app to help me organize myself better. It's a kind of a to-do app. I have the rough concept in mind, but I'm still working on the final concept. And it's a little bit more than a to-do, just allows me to also schedule some of the tasks, keep track of everything that's happening, and evaluate my performance, whether I have accomplished the tasks I wanted to accomplish, whether I am scheduling too much for myself, or basically just to give me some idea into how my routine is. And probably, hopefully, that's helpful for more people. So the goal today is to have something already in production, a super basic, just a string of text on the screen, but in production. That being said, let's then have a look at the agenda, or at least the little Notion page that I set up here, because I think that will help us understand everything much better. Hi, Yuri. Glad to have you here. Yeah, I think you've been following the channel from the very beginning, which is amazing. Thank you for being here. Cool. So I'm going to switch my screen. Hopefully you can see my desktop. And again, if there are any problems, just drop me a message. I keep everything open here so that I can see if there is any problem going on. Awesome. So Notion page for us. And the idea here is that we will have a look at how to set up an app from scratch and to bring it to production. Okay. There will be a few sessions, and I'm not sure how, let's say, time consuming they will be. If I expand one here, you see that there are lots of comments, but these comments, they actually come from, so they are just sequential comments that we need to execute. They don't take a lot of time. So the idea is that we could cover everything today. If you do want some breaks, I think I want some breaks. So maybe we do it like this. Every 30 minutes, I'm gonna take like a, I don't know, 5-minute break or something, just to drink some water and stretch a little bit, and then we will be right back. I think I even have a screen. But anyway, yeah, let's see how we can make progress. Cool. So to begin with, let me just again switch the desktop. I'm not used to this switching stuff. Please forgive me if I forget to switch the screen, and if I'm talking about coding and you're not seeing my desktop, write me and I will switch it. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is actually just create a directory, right? So let's make it a very simple one. React to do, or to do app or something. And then when we switch into this React to do app, let's have a look here at the setting up the React app. And by the way, I am, yes, taking all the steps from this source because I don't memorize how to create a React app from scratch. You shouldn't either, because there is no point in making and memorizing everything. Plus, things change very often, and maybe you just follow tutorials that hopefully are kept up to date. You always should have a look when it was published, when it was updated, and have a look over the instructions here that they provide. I took a look beforehand. It's not going to be always the case that I will have a lot of time to check stuff beforehand. But yes, so this one seems to be a good tutorial. It provides a good setup. Basically, it has TypeScript, it has ESLint and Prettier. So it's an acceptable tutorial, and I'll just follow the steps here. Now, the link to this Notion page is also in the description of the streaming, and that's because I put here all the versions, okay? And this will make sure that if you follow this and you want to code with me, you will install all the versions correctly. So if you install it maybe in the future or watching this video, maybe the case that there are some breaking changes, and if you don't install the exact same version, there may be problems. Now, we will keep the dependencies of this thing up to date, so they will be updated on a regular basis. But again, if I'm talking to people from the future, then that means that when you install it for the first time, maybe the case you install other dependencies. That being said, let's start with a very simple one, npm init-y. So here, and I need to get used to YouTube because I have too many screens. Oops, I think I don't have npm. That's a very interesting. I switched the user, never installed anything. Okay, so let's use nvm for this one. And I'm gonna install, there is another one that I got a tip from a colleague at work. It's called ASDF, and I really liked it. But for the setup here, I'll just go with the more straightforward one. That's nice. First thing we wanted to do, first problem, we do want to install nvm, and then pending close and reopen your terminal. So we can just initiate a new session here. And let's see, insecure, blah, blah, blah. I'm gonna take care of this later. And now let's see what I have here for nvm. So I do need to get the list, and I think that's nvm list. I'm not using, yes, okay. So install usage, migrating, nvm install node, perfect. So let's start by installing node. You probably should have node already. I'm gonna install the latest version. I think that's fine for me. Shouldn't be that big of a problem because we're not gonna do anything fancy with node here. So I think the latest version should be fine. Let's see if I have the node version. Let's see if I have npm installed. Yep, now I do. So let's switch to React to do app npm init-y. And what this is going to do, it will just create a very simple file here. Actually, let me open this. I can open on my IDE so that we can see the files that we create. Give me just 1 second. Documents, React to do app, open. And there you go. And now preferences, and I just want to make this a little bit bigger, text a little bit bigger for you so that you can all see it better. 16, and then editor font 16. If it is still too small, just let me know. Cool. So as we can see here, we do have everything that was created. I mean, this is not really important. The important thing of the package.json is that we're going to use it to manage our dependencies. Okay, so this was the first step, and it's interesting because I already run into some errors here. And all we're going to do now is just, we will actually create some files, but we could create these files afterwards. Let's start by installing the necessary dependencies here. And the first one is React itself. So you may be wondering, why don't you use create React app? And the thing with create React app is that if you use create React app, you will probably already, oh, I have the logo here. Why nobody told me this? You cannot see the bottom of my screen, help. I'm gonna put it to the top like this. Problem with create React app is that it uses a lot of dependencies for things that maybe we don't really need. That introduces some vulnerabilities and some security problems. And if we want to fix these things, it's hard to do it because it really depends on the package is a whole thing. It's a whole package. And definitely it's very nice to initialize everything with one command, but over the long run, I find it hard to maintain, especially when we have some more critical, more concerning dependency management stuff. So that's why I'm setting up everything from start here. Plus, we can have less setup and we can have less dependencies, and that's just overall easier to manage. Okay. So the first thing then, install React, this one check. I could actually make this checklist like this. Does it work? Yes. Okay, let's see the ones that we have done so far. So we install React and React DOM, and now we're going to install what we need for TypeScript. We're going to install it as a dev dependency because in the end, the files are not going to be served via a TypeScript environment or in a TypeScript application. They are going to be transpiled into JavaScript and they will be served in JavaScript to the browser, so we don't really need TypeScript in production. If you were doing an app that's going to run a Node.js application and the app will be executed directly in a Node environment, then you would need TypeScript in production. But yeah, mainly if you're going to execute with TS Node. But anyway, this is not the point for now. Let's start by then installing, the TypeScript and the types for React. So let me see if I can just take this a little bit up like this and zoom in a little bit more. There we go. That being done, we can now run the TypeScript init command, and that's going to generate a pretty cool TypeScript file for us, a configuration file, and I'll show that to you in the IDE. And as you can see here, it just takes care of everything for us. Now, if I open the IDE, and I don't want this little menu here, if I open the IDE, then you can see that we have a ts config .json here, and you can go through this. I think I talked about it for quite some time. What we actually need to ensure here is that we have JSX, right? This is necessary for React, and it's going to be React JSX. And what else? I'm going to leave it for now. Maybe there's something else we need to change. One thing that I actually, I was trying to run this stuff, and I did everything, and then I forgot to add a git ignore, and I wanted to revert stuff, and I deleted all the files because I didn't commit anything. So let's just do a git init here to prevent. And we're gonna add a git ignore file. The first thing we're going to do to the git ignore file is to add the node modules thing, because I don't want node modules folder. I don't want my IDE configuration here. I don't want any .m files. I also don't want anything from my build directory, and I don't want anything from a dist directory. Okay, if I build stuff locally for whatever testing production environment or something, I want them to stay locally. Right, I don't want to commit these files. The package lock, I definitely want to commit, especially because, as you can see here, as we install dependencies, we are adding this caret here. And this means that later on, if you try to install these dependencies without a package lock file, this is going to look for the latest version, the latest major version, okay? This may not be this version, and there can be differences between machines. So if you have a package log file and you run npm CI, then it makes sure that the installation is exactly according to the versions of this log file, right? As you can see here, here we have the specified versions, and this makes sure that we have the exact same environment. Cool. So I'm not going to commit anything yet. Let's continue with the stuff here. Now what we're going to install next is Babel dependency. So Babel is really a black box for me. I'll be really honest with you. I don't know what Babel does. I know it transpiles the stuff, and I know I need Babel to run stuff with Webpack and make everything work properly. But if you ask me, what does this Babel core do? What does this CLI do? I don't know that much. Maybe I could study this and have a video about it. But for now, I'm gonna pass. I'm gonna pass on explaining it. So I just copied everything, and let's see if I can install all the dependencies here. This is probably going to take a little bit longer because there are a few more dependencies, but I don't think that's a lot of time. What we could actually do, just for fun, is to change into the documents here, and let's make another directory, and that's going to be CRA React to do. Actually, we don't make the directory. We just run npx create React app CRA React to do, and let's see what's going to be the output of this one. Okay, so basically I'm just setting up things locally, and I'm using the create React app, and at the end I'm just interested at the number of dependencies between these two things. And maybe I have some problem with connectivity. What's up? Let's try again. There we go. Okay, so cool. Now I have it installed. If I look here in my package.json file, you see all the dependencies. So Babel wants check. This, I'm just gonna check here. I'm gonna wait, as I said, I'm gonna wait with the files. Later on, I'm gonna come here to this article, and I'm gonna politely take their implementation. It's out there, it's open source, so you can definitely also follow it. And here there's a question: why do you prefer npm to yarn? Good question. Well, they are two alternatives. I personally work more with NPM. I think from NPM version 7, when they introduced the second version of the package log file, it's actually very fast. And it does a very good job in auditing the dependencies. So there are also some very good commands to audit and to fix dependency vulnerabilities. In terms of Yarn, to be honest, I haven't worked with it much. I worked with Yarn 1. I know it's in version 2 now. And when I worked with 1, we worked with it because I was working in a monorepo, and Yarn had the concept of workspaces, which are now also possible in NPM. So if you ask me between NPM 5 and Yarn, for example, I would tell you Yarn is the better choice. But with the latest versions of NPM, to be honest, I'm satisfied with it. I haven't come across any shortcomings that Yarn was necessary. But again, it's a personal choice, I think. And it's been a while since I worked with it. So I don't have a lot of strong arguments or strong preferences for NPM. It's just for the sake of simplicity, since it already comes with Node, and it does a very good job at monitoring everything. Cool. So we are now here. Let me see what's the state of everything. Is this done? No, again, I have the problem here. Let's see if I can run this again. Yeah, let's wait a little bit. So let's go back with to the installation. Now so you can see I'm installing a lot of stuff, and I'm not creating any files here. That's okay, right? So I know if you're setting up it from scratch, you would probably follow each of the steps here, but in the end, like, the dependencies are going to be the same, and I would prefer to just go through all this installation stuff and explain step by step what I'm installing. So now we come to Webpack, and Webpack is what will really do the heavy lifting here for us. So Webpack will take care of all the transpiling all the building of the website, connecting everything, making sure that all the CSS files are loaded, all the asset files are loaded, and everything is properly output in a JavaScript format that the browser can understand. And the latest version of Webpack, which is the latest major update, the version 5 here, it has this very good concept of modules, Webpack modules, and I think that's called modules. Let me double check that, please. Give me 1 second. Webpack modules, module federation. That's what I meant. This makes it very interesting, very easy to work with external applications. If you're doing some microservices, you probably come across this. I think Webpack 5 did a lot of good changes towards the whole setup. Maybe here it would actually make sense that we create the webpack config.js file to have a look at how we actually wire everything up together. Okay, so here I am, new file, webpack.config.js. I think that's it, right? Let me just copy paste the comment. Yes. So let's have a look here again. Webpack, blah, blah, blah. There you are. Okay, so let me maybe copy this, because I don't know how I actually zoom in here. I tried several things, didn't work, but here I am. Bam, that's all. And let's walk through this step by step. Okay, I want you to get a good understanding here, because this is the the core configuration of how your TypeScript files are going to be transformed into JavaScript bundles. So start by defining an entry point, and here later on we will have a source. Actually, we can already create it, directory source. We have a source, and we would have later on an index.tsx file that is going to be our entry point for Webpack. So Webpack is going to start building the application based on this file. It's going to output this to a dist folder that doesn't exist yet, but it's already in our Git ignore, so we don't want to commit it. And it's going to call this file bundle.js. Now, here I'm not doing anything fancy. I'm not splitting any files nor anything. So this is what we will, we'll just get one file in the end. I mean, I don't know if it does already automatically, this file splitting. And file splitting is basically when you have instead of having one huge JavaScript file, you split the file into multiple smaller files and you load those files on the browser on demand, right? That makes the application lighter and it loads faster. So then we have a mode of development, and then we have rules, and rules basically define how Webpack is going to handle each of the extensions of our files. Give me 1 second, just need some water. So then for TSX files, actually here we're also allowing for JavaScript files. If you are running this in a project that already has JavaScript, you want to include the JavaScript files. For us here, we will not allow JavaScript files. So we will have TSX files. This question mark here says that, okay, maybe you have an X in the end here or not. For those files, we're going to use Babel loader. For CSS files, we are going to use style and CSS loader. For SCSS files, we're going to have another loader here called sass loader. I don't know if I'm going to use sass here, but I'm going to keep it for now. And for files which refer to assets, these files here, we're going to use asset/resource. And that means that the final output is not going to be in our final bundle. It's going to be a separate file, I think. I don't remember. That's a new configuration for me. But the idea here is that we will treat both the images here and the font files as assets. If you're interested, you can actually just come here and say Webpack assets resource. There you go. And here we have the differences. Yeah, there you go. So for asset resource, I mean, it's a separate file. That's what I thought. And the inline is going to put the file in within the bundle. For us, this makes sense for smaller files. So the font files are smaller files, and it's good when we load everything together. So it shouldn't be a big problem. If we have larger files, image files, then we definitely want to have an external resource and then load it on demand. These are the extensions we will resolve. So things within here are going to be parsed by Webpack, and then a couple of plugins necessary. Maybe necessary, no, but recommended so that we have a nice output. I don't really remember what these things do, actually, I have an idea, but I cannot explain better than the documentation. So, yeah. And the dev server, these are just configurations for our dev server when we run it locally. Port is going to be 3001, and we will have hot reloading. Okay, so this is our Webpack configuration. This can be extended, and it will probably be necessary to extend these things when we start implementing, mainly because we may come across some libraries which use different things, maybe a different style stuff. I don't know. So far, as I can say here, this covers pretty much everything. But as you can see here, there is no SVG, right? So maybe if you're using SVG files, we need to use an SVG loader. I think that there is an SVG loader, if I'm not mistaken. SVG loader, exactly. So, there are like little things that maybe we're going to break the configuration and we need to come back and fix that. And that's okay. It's not a problem. So we have installed the Webpack dependencies. We have created the Webpack config JS file, and we're actually almost there, right? That's pretty cool. We don't need the build directory, actually. I don't know why I have this here, so I'm just gonna remove this. There you go. Check. This is already done. Let's create now the index.html and index.tsx. Index.tsx is already here, and the other one is index.html. And if you have a look here in the HTML file, where is it? Where is the HTML? Ah, there you are. If we have a look at this code, so I'm really copy pasting, I know, shame on me. It's empty, right? There is nothing. And what it does is basically creates a simple container for our application to be built on. It's this root ID that we're after here. And what the application is going to do is it's going to look for the div with an ID of root, and it's going to build the React application on that div. Now, I think it would be nice for us to, at a later point, talk about the internals of React. I think that this is actually something very interesting to understand how React handles the HTML and how React handles the DOM, because DOM operations are actually expensive, and one of the ways that React makes everything very efficient is by actually having an in-memory copy of this DOM, which is called a virtual DOM, and using that to actually do the heavy lifting of updating everything. So, I mean, I'm not going to go into details here. Maybe in a later video would be nice when we talk about this. That would be more maybe for performance, but I'm not going to worry too much about it at the moment. Cool. So we now have this HTML, and let's have a look at the index.tsx file, because again, there you go, very straightforward, index.tsx. And as you can see here, all this does is it uses React DOM to render a certain component within a certain element in the document, right? So we get the element by ID, and then yes, this is a DOM operation. So we find the element with the ID of root, and we just render this on the screen. We are actually almost there. So let's go back to our checklist here. Touch, check, check. And now we need the Babel RC file, and this will be necessary for us to put the configuration for Babel. Oops. So for Babel RC, probably I'm going to change the name of this app, because it's not going to be a to-do app. And then if people are joining afterwards, they're going to be like, there's another to-do app. It's not another to-do app, but I just couldn't come up with a nicer name. If you do have a nicer name, you can also write in the comments, and I'm happy to take your suggestions. Let's see the Babel RC file here. Babel RC, there you are. And the Babel RC is, again, as a black box as the Babel packages that we have installed for me. The idea is that we are using a couple of presets, both for React and for TypeScript. What this does, don't know. And what the preset env does, that's necessary to transpile into more, let's say, to transpile the most recent features of JavaScript into standard JavaScript, or like JavaScript that can be understood by older versions also of browsers and everything. I think if there's anything wrong, you can just write in the comments as well. Like, I'm really, a lot of this stuff I haven't read for a long time, so yeah, maybe you're just running away from me now. Anyway, So we do have the able stuff, and we have our package.json file. And well, let's give it a try. I mean, let's see, install Webpack, check Webpack is here, and then we have some scripts. So I'm just gonna get the scripts and I'm gonna paste them here. And now I have a start script and I have a build script. So let's see how that works out. Does this work? It does work. Okay, so let me just make a little break here. I just want to, I mean, not in the video. I'm just curious about the dependencies of CRA React to do here. And maybe I can take this a little bit up. Yep. And let's run npm audit. And let's see if they got any better. We are also in our repository here. We can also run npm audit. And we have 0 vulnerabilities, right? Which is amazing. And here we have 8 moderate security vulnerabilities. So 8 moderate is much better than before, actually, because before I think it was like 1,000 and something or 100 and something, and 2 critical vulnerabilities, which was really bad. So I think they made some good work to fix some vulnerabilities, but still not as good as having 0. And not as good as having control over all your dependencies. Cool. So we have the scripts, and maybe I can actually switch to the terminal here. And because I also like to have my terminal, but maybe I'll just, should use one, right? Let's see what happens when I run npm start. I should see if everything is here or if I'm gonna break something. Let's see. Okay, so I have a problem, and interesting. Let's see what's missing. I have no idea. Let's see what I failed now. What I forgot to implement. So I'm gonna make sure that I have all these values in my file. And by the way, if you notice my mistake, you can also just write in on the chat, and that's good that it happens. I mean, happens. Okay, so the React is all in. Let me see if I can zoom. There you go. Okay, this is how I zoom. The index.tsx file is there. The TypeScript is there. Types is there. And now let's make sure that we have this thing with us. So we do have a target of ES5 and then module of ESNext. Let's see if these are the configurations of our TS config. A target of, that's okay, and a module. And don't worry about it, this is gonna be one of, I think that this doesn't make a big difference for us, but I'm gonna leave it here. And don't worry, troubleshooting is gonna be one of the things that you will do the most time during the setup and everything. So module resolution, let's have a look. Node, that should be the default value, so that's not a problem. JSX is already allowed, so let's have a look. JSX is there. No emit, true. So let's have a look here. No emit is equal to true. And what this is going to do is just make sure that we are not gonna emit any of the files from a compilation. Now, we don't really want to emit TypeScript files. We want to build, or we don't want to emit JavaScript files with TypeScript types. We just want to build everything with Webpack. So isolated modules, let's make sure that we have this one. Isolated modules is true. And ES module interrupt, I think this is by default, strict is true. Resolve JSON modules. Resolve JSON modules is true. There you go. Allow JS and check JS not necessary. Include and exclude maybe here at the bottom. This could make a difference, especially because we then make sure that we include only the files that are necessary for us. So let's see whether this is gonna solve some of our problems. I don't know, but let's see. No, still compiling errors. So let's have a look again back here. Babel is everything there. Babel runtime, Babel RC, check. Webpack config, check. Add the scripts. Okay, that's interesting. So there is something going on with my setup because we did everything we had to do. Well, now is the time that I'm going to be looking at the screen and trying to figure out what's the problem. My suggestion is if you want to take a 5-minute break, go ahead for it. I'm going to maybe, until 18:45, and I'm going to try to figure out what's the problem. Maybe this hot configuration here is the problem. Let's see what happens when I remove it. No, that's not the problem. Okay, then let's take 5, and once you're back, hopefully I made some progress. Or if you want to look at me debugging the whole stuff, I'm also happy to have you here and enjoying the music. Try to build. That's a good suggestion. So let's see what happens when I run build. But I do expect that this is going to have the same problem because what the serve command does, it builds for us with an environment of development. So source index tsx, maybe I should actually include the JS files here. Let's see what's going to happen when I include the JavaScript files, but I don't think that that's a problem. Thank you. I'm gonna put the link. There you go. Those the JavaScript files. Those little. Okay. Interesting. I need to figure it out why it was actually a problem. I'm gonna put the link to the video source of music actually, because let's put credits, right? Awesome. So it didn't take that long to actually figure out the problem. I'm gonna wait a little bit because I promised a 5-minute break. Maybe I could actually take one as well. And that's checked. And that's a pretty good time for a break. So let's just make a little break. Can I switch the... I'm gonna make a test, okay? I will disappear for some time. I will disappear and I will put it in the break screen. And after 2 minutes, I'm gonna test if it works. Okay, cool. So I'm back a little bit before the time. That's very nice. It's interesting. I like this streaming stuff. Awesome. So for those who left to take the break before we actually continued, or when there was the bug, probably when the stuff was broken, the problem was because of these JavaScript files missing. Don't ask me why, but probably from dependencies. And yeah, so adding them back made it work. Nonetheless, I wouldn't really want to work with JavaScript files. Okay, I'm a TypeScript fan, and if there is a possibility of using TypeScript, I'm gonna use TypeScript. So, and the nice thing about TypeScript is that you can seamlessly integrate with other projects. JavaScript projects, right? So you don't have, you can benefit from it even when you don't have full TypeScript project. Anyway, let's continue here because it's actually, I would like to finish everything today, but I don't know if I'm gonna manage to. Anyway, let's try to do something here. There is still a small thing missing for tests, and we're going to install this when we set up the pre-commit hooks. You see that there are some more commands here, so let me just move this around here. There you go. And now what I want to do is I just want to make a little change. So this is a new React app, and this is being served here, and as you can see, there you go. And I'm gonna try, this is an awesome new React app, and it hot reloads, which is great for us because we don't want to have to rerun everything. So this is still useful because there are probably some comments here at the bottom with the ESLint stuff. Yes, I need the configuration, so I'm gonna leave this here. For now, let's push everything to GitHub, and I'm gonna stop what I'm running. So I do have my project here with Babel, all the files, Webpack config, and there is nothing that I really would like to ignore more. So I already ignored the things I should ignore. So I'll just add everything and commit everything, and I'm gonna call this as my first commit. I know that's very okay, I'm in a new user here and I actually need to configure this whole thing. And maybe I'll actually even have to log into GitHub to push this. So let's see. If I have to, I'll do it in another screen. So that is not going to stop us from working. But let's see. So we have a GitHub here. Let's create a new repository. And that's going to be a public repository for now. That's okay, it doesn't matter. I'm going to call it React To Do app. There you go. And no description, nothing, create repository. Now let's just do what is here on the second option, and that is just pushing the whole thing to from an existing repository. Right, that's our existing repository. And we're just gonna try to, okay, so I need to log in. And now I need a password, which I will try to get from another screen. And hopefully you cannot see this. Maybe I should rotate this. I don't know. Let's see. Give me just 1 second to figure out the password. Here. There you go. Cool. So now I actually pushed everything. And let me see here if this is going to appear. There you are. Ah, that's nice. That's my first commit, YouTube and YouTube first commit. Okay, I should change my name for sure, right? But later on. Yeah, it doesn't matter at this time. Maybe I could even try to do it now. No, later. Okay, nice. So we have stuff in GitHub, and that's pretty much the pushing everything to GitHub step, actually. Not a lot of things going on. What we will do here is later on we will set up some CI checks, and we want to make sure that everything is running every time we push to GitHub. So let's start by setting up some pre-commit hooks. And what we're going to set up here are three hooks like this. We're not React hooks, pre-commit hooks. Prettier, ESLint, actually four hooks. Prettier, ESLint, TypeScript, checks, and tests, right? So just tests. So let's start by adding the prettier dependencies. That's the first one. Now let's go for the ESLint dependencies. And that's it actually. Okay, let's create what we have to create, the prettier rc.js file. We're gonna do this one so that we have prettier locally and the ESLint rc file so that we have ESLint locally. So now we have both prettier and ESLint, and I'm gonna go back to this awesome article where I'm just gonna get their rules because I checked them before. They are okay, but I prefer a tab width of 2, and they print with 120. That's okay. If you want 100, that's also fine. And for the single quotes here, just that's just gonna use those single quotes instead of double quotes. Now for ESLint, again, I'm gonna copy the configuration and I'm gonna paste on the ESLint one. There you go. Now this is basically wiring up everything together. One thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove all this stuff. So I do want to have an error when I have a problem with the dependencies of React hooks. Why? Because there is a reason for the rule of requiring exhaustive dependencies, and that means that we want to stick to the rule. And if we need to omit some dependency from our hooks, then maybe there is a problem with the hook. Okay, so we're going to talk about this later on when we start working with React hooks. Prop types, I don't care. JSX uses React, I don't care. This I'm going to remove as well. This I'm going to remove as well. No one used vars. I want to have this rule on, so I'm not going to turn it off. And actually this one I need to turn it off so that it doesn't conflict with this one. Okay, so that's fine. This I'm gonna remove, and let's see if this configuration is gonna work. Awesome. So there is one thing that we will change later on. It's a rule that I figured out that there was a problem, there's a conflict with it, but let's see if this is gonna happen here. And I'm gonna take the two scripts from here into package.json file again. I'm just gonna put it here. So we have start, build, lint. I don't wanna fix anything. Okay, so this is personal preference. And when I have format, I do have the right, and then when I wanna just check the format, and this is gonna be, for example, on CI environment, I'm gonna use the check command, and on the pre-commit hook, I'm gonna use the format command. And format command is gonna change the code and commit the changes, and the check command is going to just check if everything is in order. If there is something not in order, it will simply fail, and that's what I want on the CI, but not locally. So I'm going to start with the music again because the streaming is longer than the music. I'm just going to take it and boom, put it at the beginning. Awesome. So now we have more music, and the format check is actually prettier check. Okay. All the files here, I'm going to leave them as they are. And now I can actually try to run the lint. Let's see. npm run. So let's start with the format first. And it probably changed some stuff in the index file. As you can see here, there are the changes. How can I see this? It's like this. Yeah, there's a very useful view, by the way, when you can see how the changes happened. And now let's see the lint. Okay, so no problems with linting so far. No problems with prettier so far. Let's go with the latest step, which is to set up. So I'm just gonna mark this is done, this is done, this is done, this is done, and this is done. So not done, but done, right? Done, 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 done. And the last step is to set up Husky. I think that this will set up with their version, which means that later on, if you do have a different version when installing Husky, this may be different for you. But because this makes much easier for us to work with Husky, then I will just use it like this. And this will actually run everything for us. So it creates everything. Let's go through what the script did. First and foremost, you see there is a new .husky folder here, which has a pre-commit hook, which runs the npm test command. What Husky does, it creates the hooks and it creates the proper files, the files with the proper execution, the mode of the file to be an executable. And it installs all the dependencies that we need. Okay. So now here we don't have a test command yet. So let's run format, and we're going to run the lint. So these are the two commands we want to run when we are running Husky. Let's give it a try. And let's have a look at everything that we would commit now. Ideally, we would go through the changes one by one and make sure that we are adding all the changes that we want to the same commit. But here, because it's setup work, I'm just going a little bit faster. So the ESLint, prettier, Husky, and the traditional files, just gonna commit everything. And this is going to be add static analysis and pre-commit hooks. And now, as you can see, the commands are actually running before I commit the files, which is pretty cool. This will keep showing up, which is good because I need to fix that, but I'm going to do that at a later time. And now we have the automatic formatting of the files and the automatic linting of the files. Now, there is another command which I want to include in the package.json, which I didn't put in the overview of this video, and it is tsc check. And what tsc check is going to do is tsc -no emit. What this is going to do is it will simply check whether everything is in order with the TypeScript stuff. If there is a problem with TypeScript, then it's gonna fail. So if I have it like this, tsc check, then you see that it runs here. And if for any reason I have some problems with TypeScript, later on we'll have opportunities to have problems with TypeScript, this command is going to fail. So I'm gonna add it here. Pre-commit npm run tsc check. And we're gonna leave it at this for now. Cool. Sorry, no, we didn't finish this one. Got confused. This one is done. So I'm gonna do it here. This one is done. And now we will set up the stuff for Jest. because we want to have tests, right? We want to have tests in our documents. We want to make sure that everything is working properly. So let's start by installing the dependencies, and a lot of dependencies to install. Give it a couple of seconds. Should be ready soon. There you go. So now we have all the dependencies for Jest, but we don't have anything in Jest yet. So if you run npx jest -- init, this is going to ask us a couple of questions. So would you like to use configuration TypeScript for configuration? Yes. We're going to use JS DOM because this is where we're testing. Want Jest to add coverage reports? No, I don't. If I want later on, I will set this up. Automatically clear mock calls, yes. And there you go. Now we have a configuration for Jest. There is one thing that I would like to change here, and I need to find where it is. I remember there's the presets. There you go. It's a preset, and we're going to call this TS Jest. Now this is going to help. Us to do some TypeScript checks here for Jest. So I'm going to use this preset. Another thing that I actually installed and I didn't tell you anything about. Where is it? Maybe more at the bottom. Here. So we have Jest, types Jest, the testing library, and we also have testing library Jest DOM. This provides additional matchers for Jest so that we can write the tests in a more DOM-oriented way. Then we have TS node, which is required for Jest. And what are the other stuff? That's it. And TS Jest. Exactly, TS Jest. So now here there is just one thing for this testing library Jest DOM is that we need to import it somewhere. And I like to create a file here just called Jest after env.ts, and I can just import this stuff. I think it's like this. And then in the Jest configuration, I would add setup files after env, and that's going to be Jest after env.ts. So this will make sure that we actually run this file during the setup of Jest. Cool. So we have a test command here. Let's see what happens when I run npm test or npmt. I think that's an alias. Yes. And if nothing breaks, that's good, right? Okay. No matches. That's good. There's nothing breaking, at least with Jest. Let's create a test, and this is already a bad design because this component is just being directly rendered in the DOM. So I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to call this app.tsx and app.test.tsx. TDD, right? So let's run the test first. Describe tests the app root component. And it should render the awesome text, or is amazing or awesome, I don't remember. I mean, it's not ready, TDD is awesome. Okay. So here we're going to say render, and we're going to import this from the testing library, and we're going to render something here. We're going to render our app, right? So now again, TDD first. Let's see if we can run a test watch command here. Just gonna try to create it here. Just watch, and that should be enough. npm run test watch, and let's see what's gonna happen. Should break the test, but it should fail the test, but it should still work, right? Okay, so it's failing. Cool. Cannot find the name app. Perfect. That's what we wanted. I'm going to export a constant from here called app, and this is going to be a function component which will return an empty div. Nothing amazing so far. And now I can import the app from my app file, and the test should now app.tsx is not a module. That's interesting. Why is it so? Because I need to set some isolated module stuff. What is the problem? What happens if I import React from React? Is it gonna be happy? No. What is the problem here? I remember this. I had this problem somewhere. Let me see if I find the cause. File is not a module. Let's see. Jest error is not a module. So modules, maybe the target here could be something with this. We need the export. Interesting. Let's see, maybe there is something here. File is considered to be a module when it exports value with the export keyword. I believe replacing with export default. Okay, but I am exporting something with this. Maybe it was something I forgot in the tsconfig file. That could be. And I think that here I don't need to change anything. Yeah, interesting. Let's see what happens if I export default like this. And let's see if this is going to help me or not. No. Okay, then I need to figure out what's the problem. Maybe I'll give you another 5-minute break or something. I mean, if you want to go have a 5-minute break, you can go have a 5-minute break. I will figure out what the problem is, and because I had this problem already in the past. So aha, yes, typical. So this, I think, had nothing to do with this. Yeah. If you went to take a break, I'm sorry, you're gonna come back, and it's gonna be, I'm gonna be going already. Should pass. Yes. So typical Jest stuff. If you create a new file and then it's just not recognizing anything, maybe stop the command, run it again. Already happened to me several times, and it's actually not a problem I need to worry about. Cool. So we do have a Jest setup, and we can actually test components, which is amazing. Let's now actually write the test, right? Because here we're just rendering the component, and now what I would actually expect is that my screen, and from the testing library, dot find by text of a regex awesome to be in the document, right? And once we do that, the test should fail because my app is an empty element. So perfect, it's failing. value must be, so it is working. The matcher is working, which means our after m setup is correct. What we're going to do here is we will just move the text from this little guy to this little guy. Div to div with love. Like this. And now the test should pass. Aha, interesting. Okay. Let's see, this is an awesome React app. Let me see if the problem is with the find by text. Get by text. I mean, I haven't, it's been a while. Don't remember a lot of stuff. Let's see. Yes, exactly. It was with the find by text. And that is, I think that the find by text is asynchronous and we need to wait for, yeah, there are some idiosyncrasies with this. Nonetheless, that should work for you. And if we use the get by text, then we get the right result. If the find by text, like you have three options, you have find by text, get by text, and query by text. Plus you have some other options to filter stuff. And to be honest, sometimes I just never really understood the whole difference between the things. And if you do know, then that's amazing. If something is not working for whatever weird reason, maybe you can try moving, like trying another one. But yeah, maybe I should also study a little bit more this. Okay, cool. So last thing that we want to do is to remove this from here. And I want to have app instead of just the traditional or the hard-coded string. So now the tests should still be passing. Let's start everything. And this is working. So I think that this is a good enough setup for us now. And within the pre-commit, I will run only this once. I don't want to run the tests because they may start getting like taking a minute or so in the future, and I mean even more. So I just, yeah, maybe I could run the test on the pre-commit, but it's not necessary for us here. Okay, so let's have a look at everything we have. Husky, pre-commit, and so on and so forth. I'm gonna add everything. And I'm going to commit with a feed flag that add Jest support. Add Jest support. Let's see if everything is still working. Aha, okay. React must be in scope, that is here. And I need to import React. See, that's the good thing about having pre-commit hooks. They tell you what's the problem. Awesome. Everything is committed, except for the changes here, because I think I forgot to add them. So let's add them, and let's amend the commit. And that's it. Is everything there? Yes. I want to push this. Actually, before I push this, because I don't think that in the GitHub, do we have something here in the source? What do we have here? This is an awesome new React app. Okay, so we do have the awesome new React app. I can push this, that doesn't make any difference. Cool. So now let's have a look at our schedule. We do have the pre-commit hooks set up. We pushed everything to GitHub. Let's connect to Netlify. I go to Netlify. And why Netlify? Because it makes it very easy to deploy stuff, okay? What we're aiming here is really going into production just a good enough, like going into production with a good enough setup. Is Netlify the best? No, probably the best would be to manage our own little AWS or GCP or Azure stuff, and yeah, there is definitely more possibilities there. But for our purposes here of simply deploying a React app to the external world, Netlify does a great job. I host my personal website on Netlify. I mean, not host, but I use Netlify to deploy it. And I had no problems so far. So for us now, it's good enough, and it's a good balance between time that we need to invest. Oh, I need to add it to two-factor authentication. Okay, then let's go to another screen. And where is it? There you go. And I'm back. Yay, now you can see here is my website, right? Cool. So I already tested some stuff to Duo, but this just didn't work. I mean, not a nice name. So let's add a new website, right? And import an existing project from a GitHub provider. So now here that's gonna list all my repositories, which I think it's not, there's nothing here that is interesting for you apart from the React to-do app. There you go, React to-do app, branch to deploy, master, npm run build, and here we make sure that we have the dist folder, and here we need to make sure that we have the same folder that we have in the Webpack configuration file. So that's it, and let's deploy the website. Let's see what happens. Give a couple of seconds. This is actually a really quick build because it's a super simple website, but as more stuff comes across the website, things are gonna get a little bit slower, but be patient. And let's see if we can set up the Netlify stuff. Almost there. There you go. Now it's building. Everything is built correctly. Deploy the website, and the website's live, right? So can we see this website? Yes, we can see this website if we come here. And where is the link actually? There it is. Oh, and our website is live, right? So there you go. We have a React from scratch to production. Now, of course, that's not how we want to do it, because why? Well, I'll show you why. Because here in the app, if I say like this is a broken website, and we have some broken stuff here. I'm just giving an example, right? So if I have something like this, and I add this, and I commit with, I broke it. And then, once it's done with the checks, I push. You will see that this will trigger an automatic build here. And there you go. It's actually deploying the broken version of the website, and we don't want that, right? The thing here is that it has no, we are not running anything on the CI level. We don't have any GitHub action that is going to run, or any actions, any CI/CD environment that's going to run the checks for us before we actually deploy into production. So let's set that up, and I think we can wrap up for the day, because it's actually a lot of time, which is amazing. I mean, we did a lot today. So let's go to the last step, which is to set up this CI/CD integration and make sure that whenever we push some code, we're going to run the, again, formatting, linting, type checking, and the tests. And if these 4 things pass, then we are going to deploy the website on Netlify. Okay, we can also change this, change the address of the website if we want later on. That's not a problem. We will do that. But for now, let's do a little bit of super basic GitHub Actions stuff. So I do need and by the way, I don't remember all this by heart. So if there's anything that I miss here, I'll need to have a look online. And we're gonna have a workflow. I'm gonna call this CI/CD, and it could be CI. I don't know. Cool. So what is that? I know that I need the jobs. And do I need a name or on? I think I need on. Yes. Push. Right, on, push. And I think here I can determine which branches master. Do I have a name here? Yes, I have a name. That is CI/CD workflow. Oops. Yeah, workflow on jobs. And then here, this is going to be the deploy job. And I do need a series of steps. And I can also, I could give it a name. No, steps. So check out first one. Let's just write what we need. Check out repository uses, this is GitHub Actions checkout. I don't remember. Let me have a look. So how do I, yeah. So GitHub Actions checkout repository actions checkout, and I think that this is already enough to exactly uses actions checkout v2 uses actions actions checkout v2. What is missing here is the runs on exactly. So the runs on is missing, and that is Ubuntu. Could be the latest, doesn't change much for us. Steps is first one, we're going to check out the repository. The second one, we're going to set up node. All right, we're going to set up node. And this is going to be uses, what is the name again? GitHub Actions, set up node. Very easy to find. There you go. Uses. Node, and I think that the width should be exactly here. Now we are using node 17, but I'm gonna put node 16 here. Doesn't make a big difference. We could update afterwards. Name, install dependencies, run npm CI. We have the next one, name, formatting, and linting, run, and then here I can run npm run format check. Whenever I use this vertical bar here, as I'm just passing list of commands for it to run for me. It's npm run lint, npm run tsc check. Next one is going to be name, tests, run, npm run test. Perfect. So this is the beginning, right? And this should be executed every time I push to master. So let's see if this is working. And I'm gonna add everything. I'm gonna commit, and we're gonna figure out if there are any errors here. Setup basic CI config. Let's see what's gonna happen when we push this to master. Hopefully everything's working. I think I didn't miss anything. And the master is here. And let's see if the actions are running. Okay, seems to be running. And give a couple of seconds until it installs everything. It's going to install the dependencies. Yeah, that takes a while, but that's okay. So it seems to be running everything correctly. It's running our formatting and linting, it's passing, it's running our tests. And I haven't tested with the tests before, but I hope it works. Yeah, I have some problems. And did I change something on my tests or no? Unable to find an element with the text. Awesome. This could be because the text is broken. Aha, that's pretty cool. See, so awesome. So now I have something fairly awesome. I'm really happy. Unplanned stuff that actually turns out to work. So I have a broken website and the tests don't pass here. So this should not be deployed, right? However, if I come here, I believe that this is actually has been deployed by the website here, by Netlify. And there you go, it's been deployed even though it's breaking. And if I come here and I visit my website, then my broken website should have gone into production. Exactly. That's super cool. That's exactly what we want, right? We want the broken website on production. So this is why, I mean, there are ways of managing this here. I think I tried to find, but I couldn't. So that's why I thought it makes sense we set everything up on the on the CI side and on the CD side. So here I will revert this and I want to have my awesome new React app again. Now let's see if the test command is passing, because I think it is. And give it a couple of seconds. Yes, everything is passing. Awesome. So the last thing that's missing is the Netlify stuff, right? So let's first stop auto-publishing. So I came here to Netlify. There was this start, stop auto-publishing. Actually, I can continue with the auto-publishing. It doesn't matter. The first thing that I'm gonna do is on the deploy settings, I'm gonna stop the continuous deployment. I'm gonna say stop builds here in the builds. Just gonna say stop builds and I'm gonna save. And now whenever I push something into the repository, this is not gonna trigger a new deploy here, which is what I want, because I want to trigger this by myself if the checks from the CI pass. If they don't pass, I don't wanna trigger it. So how do I trigger something? From the CI here, and this is where we're going to use the Netlify GitHub Actions, the CLI. We want to have the CLI of Netlify. There you go, it's this one. And they already give an example to deploy a website. So I'm just going to copy this. And this example is wrong, by the way, so the name here should not have this dash, because that's going to be a new step. So I'm going to come back to the CI/CD and I'm going to add a new step. And this new step is going to be deploy to Netlify. And this uses, oops, sorry, this one I don't need. And this one. There you go. So directory is going to be dist, and that's not going to be functions. I think that here I could actually use the env. Let me have a look here. And I could control environment. I don't know if I need this. Well, let's try without it. So the first thing we're going to try is just deploy the dist. And as you can see here, I need to set up 2 secrets for me to be able to set this up. Now, let me open this again. Where is my action from Netlify? Is it here? Yes. So I do need to obtain the Netlify auth token and the Netlify site ID. And this I need to set up here in the settings. Where? In the secrets, right? for the actions here. And as you can see here, I can create a new secret, and I can add a new environment. Oops, sorry, not an environment. Oh, there are no environment. How do I? Have never done this. New repository secret. There you go. So we have the Netlify auth token. Where is it? Here, Netlify auth token. Now I'm gonna go and I'm gonna get my Netlify auth token somewhere else in another screen. And you can just follow the instructions from the from the Netlify repository. If you click on how to obtain a token with a UI, that's going to take you to the page there. And I need to come to Netlify. I need to log into Netlify again. And within my settings, I should be able to get security, no applications, personal access tokens, and then I can describe my token. I'm just telling you what's showing up on my screen, but I'm looking at another screen now. So that's going to be the CI. I'm going to generate a token and I'm going to save it here. I really need to be careful with this stuff. So just to show you what's going to happen once I create the environment, then it's going to save like this. You cannot visualize it, but you can update and remove it. Okay, so this is the first one. The second one that we need to create is the Netlify site ID. Netlify site ID, and now I'm going to go to another screen as well, even though I think that this information is not strictly confidential, but you never know. Okay, how do I get that? Site settings, general site details. So let's go back. Come back here, sites. There you go. Site settings, general site details. There is the ID. And I add the secret, but I think I added a line here, so I don't want to add the line. There you go. Update the secret, and we are back. So now I have the Netlify auth token and the Netlify site ID. Okay, cool. So let's get back here. This is just the action. I'm just double checking that everything is correct here with my action. So action CLI master deployed or dist, and then I have the secrets, Netlify site ID, Netlify auth token, and this is gonna run after everything, okay? If something here fails, this is gonna exit the whole execution of the CI, which means that the deploy step is not gonna be executed. So now this is an awesome fixed, not so new React app, right? Let's see if stuff is still passing. It should, because I'm just looking for the awesome keyword here. And then we can commit this and push to master to see what's gonna happen. Git add, git commit, feed, add, Netlify deploy. And I'm gonna push this. So now let's see what happens with my website once I push it. First thing, it should not trigger any deployment here, and it doesn't. Okay, so it doesn't trigger anything. Let's go back to our React repository. Where is it? GitHub. And where is the React to-do app? And there is an action running. So let's have a look at this action running and see if everything works well. One comment, as you can see here, this is actually building the whole container for the Netlify action before I run the checks in the CI. Ideally, this wouldn't be the case, right? Ideally, we would set up or we would build this image after we make sure that all the tests pass. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense for us to have to build the image. If something fails here, then we shouldn't build the image. But it's building it for us, and it's gonna take maybe 1 more minute or so. And our things here are really quick. It's not a big deal. npm CI is so that the building here adds a minute to the pipeline. It's not that big of a deal. Okay, if it added maybe 10 minutes or something, or if you run this pipeline 100 times a day, then yeah, maybe that would be something you would want to have a look at. But for me, that's good enough. So I'm gonna leave it as it is. I'm not gonna worry too much about it. Cool. So hopefully now the tests are gonna pass. And I think that the deploy to Netlify, yep, tests are passing. Let's see if the deploy is gonna pass. No such directory, but it is successful. Yes, of course. I forgot to run the build. npm CI, npm pararara. Oops. So, and another interesting thing is that this command didn't fail. It just output a message here and there is no error. And if I have a look at the website, then what do I have here? This is still a broken website. So let's try to fix that. Build production website, and I'm gonna run npm run build. Let's see if that is working, by the way. So yes, it's working. I'm gonna add, let's see what I have. I just modified the CI/CD git commit fix add missing build step. And now we need to wait for another 2 minutes. Yay! But at least the pipeline is green. Even though it's not green, it's green. So tricky, right? Maybe there would be a better script to deploy everything. I mean, it's not perfect, the solution, but it will allow us, as soon as we have a good setup, that we make sure that we are deploying to our website, to Netlify properly. That, what is this? Okay, just the output of the build. So that we are deploying properly to Netlify, that we can then continue working with it and have a setup where we will directly deploy to production, right? Hopefully everything is working now, because to be honest, I'm tired, I'm sleepy. My head is tired. But I don't want to take a break now because we are almost done. So hold on. Let's finish this, and then go happy, have dinner, and rest for the day. Give it a couple of seconds. And if you have stayed with me for how long? 1 hour 40 minutes. That's amazing. Thank you very much. I had a lot of fun actually, and I will have a lot of fun, even more fun, if everything works. But I find this actually much more interesting than recording everything and then just just doing it alone is no fun. It's nicer when there are people around. So cool. Our tests are still very quick, right? 7 seconds to pass. That's really good. So now it's trying to run deployment, and it seems to be working. And let's see what's the output here. if everything looks good on your draft URL, deploy to our main site with a prod flag. Okay, so now there's another thing missing. Let me see here. So this is being deployed to our draft. What is it called? Draft environment. Yes. Deploy with the Netlify deploy dash prod. So we do want to do it like this. And I mean, that's, yeah. Okay, this is a cool thing. Do you really want to deploy directly to production, or do you want to deploy to a draft environment? This is possible to do. I don't know how to actually access this here, but there is maybe a deploy preview or something, but we do have the environment deployment here. Let's add the dash prod into the Netlify CLI, deploy, and let me just see what happens here if they do have the dash prod. Yeah, there we go. The production deploy, use the prod flag. So we're gonna do that, and that's the last thing we need to do. Git commit m, what is that? Feed, deploy, Netlify directly to production. Yeah, let's take some risks, right? That should be it. Actually, there is one thing. Let me see if the production website is still broken, because I think it is. Yes. So now we can push this, and we can see if the if this is going to deploy directly to production. And again, 2 minutes or so until the CI check finishes. By the way, that's why we want to have as many tests as possible, because we want to be confident that we can deploy software into production and without having to go through a lot of manual steps, without having to really hand over the website to someone else for them to test, or for them to do some manual regression tests. These are the things we want to avoid. And by having extensive tests, by having good static analysis and also other checks in place, we can actually ensure that this is possible. And by deploying often, we can also ensure that that we can properly isolate whatever we have any breaking change, whenever we have some problems with the website. The changes are small, so we can pinpoint what really caused the problem, and it's easier to fix. If we do deployment once a week, for example, or once every 2 weeks, then there is probably a lot of code that gets deployed to production, and if a bug surfaces there, it's harder to pinpoint. If we do continuous deployment, actually that would be continuous delivery, I think. But anyway, if we are setting up our project in a way that our code is always available to production, we do need security checks in place, but then we also get the benefit of faster code delivery. That being said, and that was just really to wait until everything was ready. I think, let's see, waiting for deploy to go live, and moment of truth. If I come here and I refresh my page, then I got a new page. Woo! Yes. Awesome. So we are done, right? That's everything I wanted to do for today. I said in the description, if we have time, we could start implementing some stuff, but I'm not in the mood. I'm really tired. Anyway, so here, just let's recap what we have done so far. Very quick, set up the whole thing only with the dependencies we need. And that's very nice. So we have a TypeScript, we have Webpack, we have Jest integrated, so we can already start writing tests. End-to-end tests with Cypress, they will eventually come here, but for now, Jest is going to serve the purpose. We have set up linting, prettier, TypeScript checks. We have set up a CI pipeline, which is going to help us deploy our code with more confidence. And we have tested everything and integrated everything with Netlify, which allows us to have a website available. And if you want to actually test this, let me change. So within the site settings, I can change the site name, right? And here, let's put React to do app. That's probably already taken. Yeah, so of course that's taken. Everybody's making it to do web. Awesome to do. Is it taken? No. There's some. Interesting. Well, I was being attacked by spamming on the messages. So let's report all of this. Let's report all of this, and that's gonna get hidden for you. I apologize for that. But anyway, awesome to do. Is this taken? It's taken. So whatever. Let's put it to do Laura Müller, and I'm gonna think about a better name afterwards. Yay. So now if you want to access the website, you should be able to come to do Laura Müller, and it should still be accessible for you. So now you can actually use the application as well. And you will be able to do so because at the end of every streaming, you're going to get something deployed, or we are going to get something deployed to production. Awesome. So now I think that's it. And I'm going to close everything here and close everything here and close everything here and close everything here and switch to the full webcam. And thank you very much for staying until the end with me. I think we learned a lot today. We did a lot today. We have a very nice setup for the next streaming. We have a cool app that we can continue working on. And that's it for the day. I would like to try to have another streaming this week, but it depends a little bit on my availability and on how much I can plan in advance. But if you want to know when the next streaming is going to happen, then just make sure to follow the channel. You can also follow me on Twitter. The link is on the description, and I will always post there. So thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next streaming. Bye bye.